My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours. We're a music podcast that chats to artists, musicians and creatives on their songwriting craft and upcoming projects. I'm your host Simon Fink and welcome to episode 275. We're joined by Russel Fitzgibbon today on the pod, aka Skeleten. The Sydney-based producer and songwriter released one of the best local records of the year last week with his debut record, Under Utopia. Before we get into all things Skeleten, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast on whatever app you find good podcasts on and ensure you're following us across all of our social media channels. Details for all can be found within the show notes of today's episode. Our guest today is Skeleten. The musical alter ego of Russel Fitzgibbon makes electronic music that somehow feels hazy, organic and wholesome all at once. The Sydney-based producer, singer and songwriter has been making music for years, and some of you might know him as one half of electronic duo Fishing. He began composing some of these songs before the pandemic, but continued through as a silver lining to what was kind of going on in the world around him. And these songs do somehow reflect back incredibly welcoming and inviting warmth that I just don't feel like you hear a lot of in electronic music. His debut record, Under Utopia, came out last week, and it's already getting rave reviews from across the world. In today's episode, we talk to Russel about Under Utopia and the creation of some of these songs. We discuss the art of knowing when to stop and recognise when a song is completed, which is a skill that is actually quite difficult in the world of songwriting. We also discuss some of the live shows that he has planned for the record and what the rest of the year holds for Skeleten. Under Utopia is out now, and we've left links in the show notes so you can stream or buy the record. And we do want to say a massive thank you to Kyle from Play It Again Sam for his help with this episode. Here is our conversation with Skeleten. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, Skeleten, aka Russel Fitzgibbon. Russel, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm really good. Thanks so much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on what I believe and appreciate you being here with us. It must be a very busy and exciting time for you at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It is that. It is busy and it is exciting. In all the right ways. It's really nice to actually be on the other side of the record coming out now. So it's more exciting, less busy.
Of course. Well, the record that we are going to be talking about today, you released a brand new record on Friday. It is sonically a beautiful piece of work. It is called Under Utopia. Firstly, yes, congratulations on the record. As you mentioned, you're now on the other side of it, and I know that some of these songs were almost written pre-pandemic. How are you feeling now that it's out in the public? It's out of your hands almost.
Yeah, it has always been that kind of process that I kind of like in releasing music, where it's before I release something, I'll be listening to it and just kind of immersing myself in it for years, even. With some of these songs, as you said, they were kind of started pre-pandemic and kind of have been hanging around and being developed a little bit, or just they haven't really developed from there that much, but the process, some of the songs were written right at the end, last year. So living with it for so long, and then I really love that process of just kind of when you just get to give it away and it's no longer like something that I feel like I need to like listen to in the same way, because it's kind of like it's not for me anymore. And it's really rewarding to kind of see it doing the thing that it's meant to do, which is like have people listen to it and like respond to it. Yeah,
it is a beautiful piece of work. Are you in terms of I don't want to say self-editing, but knowing when a song is done or knowing when a piece of work is done, are you good at putting that final full stop on it, or is it something that you like to revisit time and time again?
I think it's something that I've worked on at getting a lot better at finishing songs, or like not finishing songs and just accepting that they're finished. I think like earlier in my career when I was making music, I would be would go pretty deep on a song, trying to like really like figure out exactly like the best thing that it could be, or like exactly what it needed to get it to some like random place that I didn't know where it was. It's like this open-ended thing that you can never really get to. And I think I've discovered, and it was something that I kind of found which helped with the genesis of this project, was just like keeping it simple and like trusting, looking for like the core of a song and like the vibe of it. And so often it's just like, well, the first thing that you did, like obviously you have a mix, obviously you maybe make sure the lyrics are right and everything's right, but the vibe is like, that's the core and it's there from the start, or it's not. And if it's there, then it's like you don't have to worry about it too much. And like, well, that's it. There's nothing I could do to kind of like improve what the song is about, because it already has that all within it.
100%.
Yeah, so it's nice to like feel like I'm getting better at that, understanding that process.
It's something that we've spoken to a few different artists on this podcast about, and I always it's a fascinating thing to me, because I think that it changes from like genre to genre, maybe in the sense of like sometimes with like a straightforward pop rock song that might be played on the radio, on like your mainstream radio. There's almost like if you've got a verse, chorus, bridge, that's maybe like the finality of the song. Whereas I find it much more, it's much more like an intricate process of electronic music, because there is so much repetition, and because you're having these different ideas, sometimes it might be more sparse, sometimes it might be more grand, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
That it's definitely harder to work out where it stops and where it ends, and what kind of sits in between. And so I think it is a fascinating process. So thank you very much for kind of sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's like I always, I think because my music is, it kind of toes the line between that like pop song, where there are verses and there are choruses, but it's also really loopy and really kind of repetitive and kind of just sticks on these one ideas. So it's always an interesting thing to kind of feel like, oh, does this song need a chorus? Does it even is that required? And it's always, once again, just goes back to like try and make it easy on myself by just being like, well, it doesn't need anything that it doesn't need. It's just like if the song is just a loop, then that's just a loop, and that's all it needs. It shouldn't be anything else than that.
One thing I got from this record as well, it seems hopeful in a way, and it like in an audible sense, like it, even if the lyrical content might not have reflected that, throughout the whole record from start to finish, it was this beautiful kind of almost longing in a way that I felt kind of was thread throughout the album. I'm not sure if that was intentional. Maybe it's just my interpretation of it. Was that kind of something that you recognized in the music as you were kind of making the album as it went along?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like I definitely, it's funny because I don't think it was intentional in the way where I set out to do that, but it is something I definitely feel was reflected, and I kind of recognized was like kind of a thread that was carrying through in the writing process. it was very much, once again, not set out with like an intention to write music that was like specifically like hopeful or specifically expressing this like one like view of the world, but it was really trying to like sink into like, and kind of use this writing process as like a way to kind of figure out how I felt about the world around me. And I think a lot of that throughout all these years, it's been like, you know, as you said, the lyrical content sometimes is not particularly like, you know, it's not light, it's not like happy, but it's also like, I've got this desire to kind of even the bad stuff, even the flaws, even the like sadnesses, like kind of, I don't know, like I tend to try and see, I only want to write music about beautiful things, I guess. Mm-hmm. Or like, it's not all about beautiful things, but even the like ugly shit, like you kind of see the beauty in it. Mm-hmm. Like, because I find writing music a beautiful process. So I think it's like always trying to like capture like that kind of feeling in myself, or the feeling I get when I think about anything, any human emotion or any, you know, human struggle or wants or desires.
100%. I'd be very curious to know, because for anyone listening who wasn't aware, this is the first project under Skeleten, but you were previously in the electronic duo Fishing. What originally drew you to music?
I don't even know. You know, like it is really one of those things where it's just, I'm at this point where it just feels like it's just what I do. You know, It's just like, it's not even like a, you know, a deliberate thing anymore. And I don't feel like it ever has been. I guess what drew me to music in the first place was just like, genuinely, like thinking back, I think it was like I was like getting music lessons when I was like a little kid on piano. And like, I think, you know, you kind of hate that as a kid. You're like, you have to practice and all that stuff. But I think when I really got to the point where I was like, it was nice, I was encouraged to like improvise and just like make up a song, like, and you can kind of have this, I remember feeling like really like just at home when I could just like have this kind of collection of notes on the keyboard and like make my own thing come into the world from like nothing. And it's like suddenly this thing didn't exist, and suddenly it's like, you know how it goes, and it's got a name. And like that process of creation is something that I've really come back to a lot, like especially recently, like doing that. We've been doing these big like jam sessions with like a bunch of friends and just recording and just seeing what comes out of like pure, we're not even like great improvisers or anything, but like it's still that same kind of fun sense of discovery where it's like, oh, an hour ago it was just a blank slate, and now we've got these like 3 dumb random songs that we all know and like we all share, we all know what they're about, even though they just happen in the moment. Yeah, I think that's like what I really get out of it still.
I love the fact that you can still kind of, and again, this is not to play, I guess, stereotypes with anyone that kind of does create or compose electronic music, because there are so many different facets of electronic music as well. But I think that maybe it's a misconception from people who don't kind of know much about it, or kind of think that it is, you know, a DJ or just a synth pad or whatever, that there's this element of you still trying to create and improvise in like a band kind of format, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, it's something that I always, like, I think I need both. I need that time by myself, just like in a studio, just listening to a loop and just like, you know, getting really deep, which is kind of like, I guess, a traditional electronic process where it's just me and a computer and like the, you know, the instruments there recording. But that wouldn't be, and like that's the only way I can really make a Skeleten song, because it's, at least at the moment, it's the only way I know how, because it's I think I need that space to just like do whatever I want and really find that thread that I couldn't really find if I was trying to work with a band or something to write a song. But I also like, that wouldn't be enough for me. Like I would I get so much joy out of like playing music with my friends. I mean, like in my friends' bands and like do that stuff. And it's just, you need kind of both parts to keep the inspiration going. And I think I've like, as I said, it's like, you know, if you're jamming and like you're kind of doing that process by combining musicians, I've definitely started songs from ideas that have like come from that. Like you might hear a little thing that you've kind of just like come up with together, and then I take that into my own little box and like put my head around it for hours and hours.
I love that. With that in mind, have you begun to look at the process of bringing Under Utopia into a live space and into a live setting?
Yeah, well, we have been playing shows we haven't been doing like heaps of shows because I think I wanted to make sure every show was kind of like special, and like we didn't kind of like just go out and firstly like everyone's busy, and like, you know, I've got a band together of like good friends. It's a 4-piece, but yeah, we wanted to I didn't want to play it by myself because it just doesn't seem fun for me. It doesn't seem fun for the audience. And I think the atmosphere that I wanted to create with the music, even though it's a solo project in the recording, like live, I want the atmosphere to feel like shared and communal. And like, it's really hard to kind of do that some performers can do it solo, but I'm not that good of a performer. So it was really important to me to, put a band together and perform just like in a more traditional, like it's a weird band, but you still look at it and it's like, oh, it's a band. Like sounds like a band, feels like a band. Yeah.
I feel like as well, I know I said, and this is not to just kind of keep complimenting the record. I know before I said that it was kind of hopeful as well. I feel like there's also a sense of, even in more down-tempo tracks, there is almost like a sense of community on these songs. And I imagine that being performed live, it might not have the same experience if it is just one single person and, you know, a bunch of kind of synth pads, like whatever it may be. I think that you almost need that aspect to properly give these songs what they deserve, to kind of have them come across in a live setting, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like even though, you know, it's electronic music, the arrangements are actually like pretty simple at their core. Like I never wanted to make it like this really production focused like project. You know, like most of these songs, like pretty much all of them can be like, there's only really a few that have like particular like use of samples or something. It's all pretty much stuff that can be played by a drummer as bass, like just bass in every song. Like I use the same couple of synths for most songs, and then like vocals and so no matter what you do around that, it's still like at the core, the songs are made by those like pretty simple elements. And so it would feel strange to not like get my friends to like play those parts and like bring their own kind of personality to them, which is like one of the other like really lovely things about playing live with a band is like, you know, obviously the actual experience of just having fun and sharing like that feeling on stage.
Yeah, 100%. Is there, now that the record is out, is there a song, I realise it's slightly unfair to ask, is there a song that you're looking forward to playing live, or a song that you hope kind of clicks with the audience, maybe more so than others from the record?
Yeah, good question. Like we have played.
Jewelry can say many things on your wedding day. As a wedding band, it can say, "This is a forever symbol of our forever love." As a gift to your wedding party, it can say, "Thanks for standing up there with us." Blue Nile can help you find the piece that says it all and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
A few of the, like, we have played maybe half the record live before. Like, with only some of the songs only a couple of times. But the ones that we haven't played, like, I really am looking forward to playing the title track, Under Utopia, which is like that kind of, you know, it doesn't really have a beat. It's just like this kind of bass instrumental with some like sounds. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how that can go, because it is kind of the song that, like, I felt summarized the feeling that I was trying to create with the record. Yeah, we've never played that live because, I mean, it hasn't really been the moment, and obviously the record hasn't come out yet. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to just doing that and like being kind of like really, because it's the most open and kind of vulnerable song on there. I think it'll be a really beautiful thing to see how that comes across.
100%. I have to be, if I'm going to be a little bit selfish, I was just wondering if I could ask about my favorite track on the record. I kind of found myself returning to Tertiary Day. I thought that song was just kind of gorgeous and found it while working and allowed to have headphones in at work. I just found myself putting it on repeat and found it kind of a great song to both be relaxed to and focus on it kind of at the same time. Are you able to take us behind the creation of that song?
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, Territory Day, it was one of the like first songs when I like was starting the project. Well, I wasn't even starting like as a project. I was just writing these songs, just like experimenting like with like what kind of music I want to make. Like years ago, around the same time I started Mirrored and started Biting Stone, which isn't on the album, but like, yeah. And I had this, I was just kind of doing stuff like little loops and things. And I was like, had the kind of main little figure of the song, like that vocal line and like the synth part. And I just always knew that I wanted to come back to it, but I didn't come back to it until right at the end of the album writing process, where it was like, oh, I feel like there's something not, you know, something else that could be done here. So I like, and that song that idea had always been there. And I came back and fully reworked it. And I'm so glad I did. The original, the kind of feeling of the song, yeah, it's called Territory Day, and it's kind of, it was written on Territory Day, which is like this public holiday in the Northern Territory where everyone can let off fireworks for one day, kind of like the 4th of July, I guess, in the States. Mm-hmm. But I had a lot of friends up there at the time, and I was back in Sydney, and I'm not exactly sure, you know, how to describe what it's about, but like, I mean, they're not really about anything, but it's like the feeling was this kind of sense of distance and like the fireworks and that celebration and like that kind of sense of like longing and like missing people and like those kind of energies traveling over this vast continent and also all around the world. And when I came back to it, I think what happened with a lot of the stuff, like later in the process, these things which felt pretty personal to me at the start of the writing, like became kind of globalized and felt really like more like I'd changed my perspective maybe, and all those feelings about like longing and hopes and wants and like that kind of connection across space and time. I was more concerned and like more feeling that to do with like, you know, humanity as a whole, and like the kind of a more spiritual, for lack of a better word, like aspect to that kind of human energy. Yeah. So that's kind of that's kind of like how the formulation of the song from the original idea was kind of constructed around that feeling, which I think is why I ended up doing all the shout outs in the middle for the verse.
I do love that. Thank you very much for sharing that. I would love to kind of know, I guess, and this might seem like a little bit of a cliche question, but it's more so that I'm personally very excited myself to kind of see what you have planned for the rest of the year. I know that that you have played a few shows. I'm not sure if we've got a full tour that's coming up in support of the record. I know that, well, both locally, I'm going to try and get this right. You have the feature album this week on Double J, on FBI, on Sin, and on... I'm going to get the fourth one wrong. I apologise.
2SER, the other great community radio station in Sydney. Yeah.
Yes. So killing it in the feature album game here at home. I know that you've been featured on blogs like Stereo Gum. You're getting quite a bit of press overseas as well. What, I guess, can we expect from the project in the next 6 months or for the rest of the year?
Yeah, like it feels so good I've always felt a lot of support. And I think it's really nice to have this full collection of songs, because I think I've been waiting to do that, and I think it's kind of like really helps people like understand the project at a more like solid level, instead of just having these singles that have come out. And I think people get to understand what I'm about a bit more. So it's I'm very happy to like be in this position where like I get to decide what to do next, which is we're definitely playing shows. We've got a big album launch, but album launch events. We've booked a big lineup with one great band, Utopia from Melbourne, and then a bunch of my favorite DJs to kind of have this nice full session. And then we're playing one show down in in Melbourne. And I think we've got a show in Brisbane with First Beige as well coming up. So we've got those lovely things. And then there's definitely, hopefully, we'll just be playing more and more as the time passes. But we're always pretty circumspect about that. We just play it when it feels right. Mm-hmm. But I'm already kind of excited to release more music. After this, I don't want to, I'm so excited about the album, but it's actually, as soon as it's come out, as we said right at the start, now it's kind of given away, and I'm kind of already find myself going back into working on new stuff that I've been toying with. And that's really exciting. I want to release more stuff ASAP, basically, and kind of keep it going. Which I'll be doing, which is really exciting. So yeah, I guess I was saying the other day to someone, it's your goal in music, your goal when you release a record or release anything is basically for me to just be able to do more. There's no I'm waiting for it to hit this certain amount of streams or listens or have this certain or be able to play this thing or do this thing. It's just all I want from it is firstly for it to connect with people in a way that makes you feel you're in a position to do that again or do that more. So yeah, and it feels that's where I'm at, which is all I could ask for.
It's this funny thing, and we've spoken to a few different artists about it, in that. And I don't think there's a misconception from people, non-musical people or non-industry people, but it's this thing of that the music you've been working on, as we've discussed today, has been in the works for years, has, kind of been sitting with you for a while, that when we finally get to kind of sit down and talk to artists, that they're possibly one or even two eras ahead in terms of what's being created and what they've got going on. So it's a funny kind of thing because... Yeah, I imagine that if we were to, and to the other powers that are on this call, we won't divulge anything, but I'm sure that there are other exciting things that you could let us know or talk about if we were able to. So it's I look forward, regardless what it is, I look forward to whatever new music does come out post this record. But very happy to sit with this record for a while as well.
Yeah, hell yeah, I appreciate it. Like, yeah, I think that is so true. There's always like, you know, in the release process and like that kind of getting these things ready to actually share with the world, there's always that kind of like progression. But I do feel like with this project, I'm closer than I've ever been before in terms of like the time frame between, you know, releasing music and it being like still present with you and like not having left it behind. Like I still feel really like excited and tightly like connected with this album. And it's just like, yeah, it feels like really perfect timing to like take that stuff into the next thing I'm doing.
100%.
Yeah, just lucky.
Russel, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there anything at the moment that's kind of on repeat in your household or caught your fancy on your whatever you listen to music on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, give me a second. I have plenty of things. I've been listening a lot to a lot of Bar Italia. They're a great band. I've been listening to the new Collarbones album a lot, which is the new Collarbones album and the last ever Collarbones album.
Yes, yeah, which is sad.
Yeah. Yeah, and apart from that, I've also just been delving back into a lot of like late 90s, like chill out, down tempo kind of releases, which has been, I don't know, part of the maybe like me wanting to chill out. It's been really, really pleasant.
All very solid choices. And also love the Collarbones shout out. Russel, thank you so much for your time today. I do very much appreciate it. As we said, I know that you're a busy man at the moment, so it is very much appreciated. Congratulations on Under Utopia. And we'll make sure we have all the links in the episode show notes where people can buy, stream the record, come to the shows that we discussed before. But yes, thanks again for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so lovely. Cheers.
The most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. One touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. You know, just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.